We are back, but don't call it a comeback. Thank you for your patience. It's been a wild last couple of months with work. Things get busy, life happens, but we are back with episode 28, all the way from colorful Colorado. Taylor Oshel, what's up, man?
Nothing much, buddy. How's it going?
It's going good, going good. Went to a Detroit Tigers game last night, so got my liquid IV today.
There you go.
So one of those nights.
Nice, bro.
Yeah. So we have first off, you have been like a day one, like since this podcast launched, like you're sharing everything, like you're like pumping the podcast. You're like, yo, check this out. So first off, thank you.
Yeah.
Don't know why it's taken 28 episodes to get you on here, but I'm glad to have you on. Tell everyone who you are, where you're from, what you do. Who is Taylor?
I'm Taylor. I'm from Colorado. uh, you know, work and go to shows and try to just spend time with my family. I keep
Yeah.
it pretty simple. Yesterday
Yeah.
we went up to Rocky Mountain National Park and snuck in through a back entrance, so we don't have to pay the fee, and hiked around for like 8 miles and came home and watched Hocus Pocus 2, bro. I'm a fucking nerd.
Dude,
Love it.
I watched Hocus Pocus 2 with my girlfriend on Friday. And I gotta say, it felt pretty like Disney. I realize it's Disney, but it felt like really Disney, like show-ish to me, like with like how people were reacting and stuff. I was like, are we watching like Zoe 101 right now? I was like, what's it just felt like way too animated for me. Did you like it?
I liked it. I just love Bette Midler crushes it every time.
She
Like
did.
the sisters were great. It was definitely corny. There's cheesy Disney things in there. It didn't
Yeah.
have that 93 vibe, which I loved. Like there's no dude with ice like shaved into the back of his head in there.
Right.
But yeah, just like the songs and the comments and stuff were hilarious. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. And dude, and it's funny because like, and I'm sure you're the same way. Like, if I would have been watching this, like if my 18-year-old self would be watching me right now and it's like, that's you did what this weekend? You watched Hocus Pocus 2? And like it's like, well, who am I? You know? But I guess it's part of growing up, you know.
I guess, yeah.
Um so when and where, let's back up. How
Okay.
old are you?
37.
37. Okay, so we're close to the same age. Close-ish. When and where did you first discover Phish?
Oh, just like everybody else my age on Napster covering gin and juice. Like
It got everyone, man. The
everyone.
gourds.
It's exactly where I discovered Phish. And then it turned into Live One, and that album just kind of sucked my soul away.
A live one?
Yeah.
Dude. That's a really good starting off point, because one of the questions I ask on here is like, what would you play for someone that's never heard Phish? And like that, I forget who gave that answer actually, 'cause someone did, but that's like a perfect place to start.
It's
Like,
great.
so what was your favorite off of that?
Um, the Tweezer's fantastic. I love Stash. Like the opening riffs in Stash are just some of my favorite music of all time.
Yeah.
But as corny as it is, I remember just loving the Yim on that album with my buddies.
Why is
And
that
then
corny?
the vocal jam comes on and we would just like dance around to the vocal jam. And that's when like sea walking was all big. So we're trying to sea walk to the vocal jam and shit in high school. Like just there's
Stop it.
stupidest stuff. Smoking Swisher Sweet blunts of swag, just acting like idiots. Like it was the funnest thing in the world.
And I can see that happening, dude. It's like if someone were to walk in on you doing that, like you're smoking swag weed, see walking to four middle-aged dudes going,
Yeah.
whoa.
The dumbest stuff in the world. Just smiles on her face, ear to ear, having fun. Like I don't know. After that, I think that song did not leave my car for like the next 2 months, or that album didn't leave my car for the next 2 months. Yeah,
It's on repeat.
yeah.
That's how it was with
That's it.
me and the Brooklyn '03 or '04 disc.
Yeah.
Um, after I heard the Free on that, it was just like, let's
No.
go. This
Yeah.
is on repeat for years. So in high school, are you like your only person in high school that's like into Phish, or do you have like a little group that's like
Oh,
into it at the
so
same time?
I played soccer in high school, and all the guys on the soccer team were a bunch of hippies. So it was all Grateful Dead stuff. And
Gotcha.
then I had a few people on this podcast, like Kyle and Garrett, who were all close buddies of mine.
Hmm.
So that's who I was all hanging out with. And Phish and Grateful Dead just like slowly took over. Like before that, it was like Chronic 2001 and all rap, a lot of Nelly and that stuff, and then
Yeah.
90s grunge music. And
Yes.
then it just transitioned into Phish. And by the time I got to college, I wasn't listening to anything on the radio. It was all like Phish and Cheese and whatever other jam band I'm going to see that weekend.
Mo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of Mo, a lot of all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's funny how it kind of like takes over. It's like you start with, I guess, an eclectic, taste of like, oh,
yeah.
listen to this, listen to that. And then it feels like at some point in everyone's Phish journey, it's like nothing but Phish for like, it could be 6 months, it could be 6 years, but
Oh,
there's a period of all of our times
it
where it's just like, that's it.
tunnel vision
Yeah.
completely all through college, like nothing else. It's funny. I talked to my wife, who is not a Phish fan at all. And she's like, "You don't know this song? You don't know this song?" And she graduated a couple years after me. She's like, "Where were you? What were you listening to?" I was like, "I was listening to Fish and Cheese. I was spending my summer traveling around, like,
Yeah.
right down to my nipples, was acting like an ass, just having the best time of my life."
Yeah.
No, I've never heard this song. No, I don't know who that is.
It's like, and it's like a super popular song.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like Ti, you know?
yeah, just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You do miss. I mean, it comes with the territory. You're gonna miss out on some mainstream stuff whenever you're.
Yeah,
But there's just so much to listen to. Like you could start right now and listen to every show in circulation. But it's just you're never gonna hear every show. You're never gonna hear every version of the song. Like
no,
it's too much.
and it's also like so mood dependent. I think like
Mm-hmm.
one of my all-time favorite shows is the Rosemont, Illinois, from February 20th in 2003,
Making
and
up.
it's just top to bottom a fantastic show. Set two is like Tweezer, Punch You in the Eye, Fast Enough for You, Seven Below, Pebbles and Marbles. That's set two,
Love that.
and so it's just like Planet Boogie the whole time.
Planet Boogie. I love
Just
that term.
but the
I'm gonna
two
steal
songs that
that.
closed the first set were a Jaboo, which was like 18 minutes or 20 minutes, and then just before that, a Simple that was like 20 minutes. So you're just like on a wave, and then it's a second set, and it just does not end. And the playing is so crisp, and it's just like today. I've listened to that show a billion times, and Seven Below is always my favorite one on there. It's like ragey bliss. It's just beautiful.
What's the date again on that? I want to make a note.
It's 2/20/03.
Cool.
This morning I went to the gym and had on that tweezer, and the tweezer just goes into this like dark, like slow build, spacey stuff for a long time. And I think it's like cloudy and rainy in Colorado today, and I was way more into that than I was the Seven Below today for some reason.
Hmm.
And so, like you said, you can go through the catalog and start from the beginning. You'll never hear it all, and then the second time or third time or eighth time you hear it, it's gonna be completely different depending on where your life is and what's going on.
And like to your point, even the weather outside. I
Yeah,
mean, it's all, and that's what I love. I don't know if I've talked about it on this podcast yet, but I call those like movie moments.
yeah,
And I always go back to like whenever you're a kid, like riding in the car with your parents, and like you're looking out the window, and that the song comes on and it's perfect with like the weather and everything, and you just feel like you're in a movie, like looking out the window. those little moments where, whether it's the Seven Below or the Tweezer in the gym and it's cloudy or rainy or it's sunny and you hear the Bliss, it's like those moments, like when it locks in, you're just like,
Yeah,
dude, this is perfect right now.
you're just gone. It
I
just
know.
takes you away. It's the best thing in the world.
I know. And it's hard to describe too without sounding crazy.
No, yeah. You know when it hits. And
Yeah.
everybody's had that song with what, or that moment with, I don't know, whatever music you like. But when it hits on another level.
Yeah. Like full goosebumps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gone.
I love that. When was your first show? Like, when did you dive in? Did you go solo? Did you go with a group of your homies?
So my first show was 2004 Alpine Valley.
Nice.
And I had a bunch of friends that were there, and they went to Deer Creek the weekend before or whatever. And so to backtrack a little bit, in high school, my mom was the photography teacher that everybody knew.
Oh,
And
at school?
yeah, everybody loved her to death. And so we had like Napster downloaded on her computer in the photography room.
Nice.
So you like skip class and go hang out in the photography room with my mom.
Just listen to
Play
music.
and like hang out. And she knew all my friends. It was a blast. And so it was actually my mom and I that drove up from Oklahoma City to
You
go
went with
see.
your mom?
Yeah,
Wicked.
Alpine Valley in 2004 with all my friends, and they all like took care of her, and like she was enjoying herself, loved it, and
That's cool.
it was a great just moment in time. It was something I'll never forget, just to like have that experience with her for the first show.
Yeah.
And then all my best friends were there. Night two was kind of whack, but night one was just fantastic.
And how old are you at this time? You're
20, 19,
right around
20?
there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. I still like I've wanted to, and I guess I missed that opportunity whenever Phish came to Oklahoma City. But like I want to like go to a show with, one or both of my parents. Like I want
Yeah.
to have that experience. That's cool that was your first. So I'm assuming that was your mom's first show too.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah. Her
that's
first
cool.
moment. But yeah, it was a great moment.
That's awesome, dude. Alpine '04. And then so after that, we're getting into like college, right?
Yeah.
How far after that were you like, okay, this is where all of my expendable income is
So
going?
yeah, that started happening. So I want to say that really took off in 2003 when I went to Cheese and New Year's for 3 nights.
Oh, so before
Yeah,
your
that's
first
when the
Phish show.
jam band stuff like really took off. Phish was
Okay.
harder to act, like wasn't as accessible when you're being from the Midwest as String Cheese Incident was.
Right.
And so it was just shows. And then probably from '03 to about '07, '08, all summer long was just where can I go? What can we go see? And what's close by during each semester of college.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on average, because I did like the math,
Mhm.
which I'm not very good at. But since I've been seeing Phish, on average, I hit about 6 shows per tour, I
Yeah.
guess. What would you say that you're higher than that, lower than that, just kind of hitting it where it comes? Or are you like, have you ever done a full tour? I guess that's a better
No.
question.
I'm
I
definitely
haven't
lower
either.
because Coventry happened in '04. And then I think around the '04, '05 through about '07 was when I was going to shows all the time. So it was more String Cheese Incident and Unfreeze during that time.
Right.
And then I didn't do pretty much anything from, I'm going to say like end of '07, '08 until like 2015. I had a hiatus sponsored by Purdue Pharma, if you know what I mean.
I do.
And so I only caught 2 shows during that time. It was the Oklahoma City show with Phish, and then one in Chicago at UIC.
Gotcha.
So from that, and that was about it. And at UIC or Oklahoma City, I didn't even hang out with my friends. Like it was just, I was on a
Solo.
different planet. Yeah, it was weird shit.
Gotcha.
And then 2013, I got sober, moved out to Colorado, and just like started rebuilding my life. And I remember I went back to like my first Phish show was Dick's in 15, and still sober at this point, and it was just like clicked.
Yeah.
Nothing had went away. love was still there, just like completely everything embraced. Like, this is who I am. It's part of me. No matter what's going on in my life, this will always be a part of who I am and a part of my life.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty magical moment. And since then, I've gotten married, work, all that stuff. So being in Colorado, I generally just do Dick's every year and do that run. And then the only other show I've caught outside of Dick's since then was my bachelor party in 2018 when we went to Austin, Texas.
So I remember we're in a group chat,
Yeah,
one of the 100 group chats
yeah,
that I'm in. I was briefly reading because, like, with these group chats, it's like one of them will pop off and there'll be like 80 messages. So the one that I'm in with you and Leonard, you guys were going off, and I like kind of scrolled, and was like checking in and being like, okay, because this is when we were trying to like schedule this, and so I was like making sure I wasn't missing anything of like dates or whatever. And I come across this, what you mentioned, like you had this iconic bachelor party. So let's go into that real quick because it involves Phish,
yeah.
correct? Okay, so set the scene. Where are we at? What time frame are we in?
It was 2018, the end of July, and it was pretty perfect just because everybody's like in their 30s now. And we got a giant house on Lake Austin connected to Lake Travis. And the first night we get there, we go hang out on 6th Street. Been to Austin, you know what that's like. It's just a
Yep,
crazy
a
party. We're roaming
mess.
around, being idiots, having a blast. Day two, it's been up for, I don't know, went to bed maybe around 4 a.m. that night. Got up, got to the boat at like 8 a.m., spent the entire day on the lake, tubing and wakeboarding and just drinking and having a blast. That night, went to some fancy dinner, steakhouse, like overlooking Lake Travis up on a hill, watching the sunset. There's glass, steak dinner, all that stuff. Day three was we just walked around Austin, enjoyed the city, like went and walked around UT campus. Texas sucks. Um, and then that night we did typical bachelor party stuff. I went to this place called the Yellow Rose. Some funny things happened to my friends there. And then closing ceremonies for the bachelor party. We're all like just spent at this point. It's 3 days of dudes in their 30s just like going hard like they did back in their early
Debauchery,
20s.
yeah.
Yeah. And we get to go to Phish, and it was just like the perfect setting. Phish in Austin, and the show was like it was a good show. It wasn't
Yeah.
like nothing to write home about, unless you were in my friend group and had spent that weekend there. That show is just magical, and the everything's right from that show is stellar. It's like the ER before they added the na 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 nonsense to
Uh-huh.
it, and
Feels
so
pretty, that real quick, that na na na, doesn't that feel like pretty Beatle-ish to you?
it feels Beatles-ish, and it also reminds me of what's that cheese song? Um,
Joyful
no,
sound?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like we can lose this Phish. We don't need
Yeah.
this here.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. I just wanted to
But
put that
yeah,
there.
so it was just a blast that night, and then it was cool because it's like not in your 20s when you're camping or like people are sleeping on the floor in a hotel. We have a giant house. We
Yeah.
all have money. Like things are efficient. Things are going well. Nobody's stressing about everything. So, like as far as the trip goes, and my buddies and going to see Phish, that was probably the most fun I've ever had in a sequence of events in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like perfect.
perfect. Yeah, absolutely perfect.
Is that your car alarm going off?
No, I got this window open. Let me go close this window.
Oh no, okay. It's like somebody's car is getting broken into right now.
Oh, sorry about that, bro.
No, you're good. And I didn't even see your dog. I thought that was a pillow behind you. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, hey, buddy."
Montego hanging out.
Is this the dog that you've been training?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, when we were, for the people that don't know, when we were trying to schedule this, I was like, "How about Thursday?" You're like, "Thursdays are no good. I got dog training." So is this a new addition to the family, or are you just now
Yeah.
training?
He's a year and a half old, and he's absolutely spectacular. He's our best friend. He's a child.
Yeah,
Training's going well. He's just a really friendly guy. So when he sees other dogs, he's like, I gotta go say hi. I gotta go say
too much.
hi.
Yeah, it's
So
like,
I try to like calm that down a little bit.
I hear you.
But yeah, no, he's a guy who can let off the leash and run around and walk around. He's not going anywhere.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
back to Phish. Now that we've touched base on how you got into them, first show experiences, the bachelor party. After all these years, do you find yourself having a favorite year of Phish that you go back to?
Everybody says this answer, or several people have on the podcast, but Island Tour is like the go-to
It's
every time.
it's hard to beat, man.
It's
It's
just like
it's really good.
it's just like this small sequential like set of shows that is just flawless from top to bottom, and there's so much material in there. I
It's pretty
absolutely
perfect.
love it. Yeah. And then that '03 show I mentioned, I love to death. The 2018 from the bachelor party I go back to all the time. And then there's like certain songs I go back to a lot. Like 2017 Simple from Chicago.
Hmm.
I think that one's better than the one at Baker's Dozen.
Okay.
Um, Another one would be like Mr. Completely from Tennessee in 21. I feel like that song is so overlooked as
I
far as
remember that happening, but I'm not familiar with it to be like, oh yeah. So I'm gonna make a note to listen to that too.
and then New Year's 95 I listen to a lot.
Oh yeah.
Love New Year's 95.
Dude, I know I said the island tour is hard to beat, which I mean it is. It's great, but New Year's 95, like, and I think pretty much everyone can
Oh,
come to an agreement that's like this is the pinnacle
it's
of
yeah, one like I don't if it's not Everest, it's K2. Like it's right there. It's just
it's yeah,
it has everything.
yeah. It is the best pound for pound. It's the best
Yeah.
Phish show ever. It's great. And so you kind of leaked into like favorite jams of all time. Do you have like is it from New Year's 95, or I'm talking like Desert Island, you can take one song with or one jam with you.
That's so hard.
I know.
I don't know if I can answer this. Um I'd probably be stupid and take like everything's right for my bachelor party just because there's so many memories attached to that
Well, that's
and
not
so many
stupid.
feelings. Like it's not one of these crazy like great jams that like blows everybody's mind, but there's an attachment to it like emotionally that cannot ever go away.
Means something, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like that answer.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. So you mentioned earlier that your wife is not so much into Phish, and I'm sure that you've given your best effort of trying to convince. So, what song or jam would you play for someone that you're trying to lure into Phish?
It depends on the person. Everybody has that same answer.
Hmm.
Um, I feel so. There's a lot of answers to that question. It's a great question.
It's hard.
I feel like for people that are into music, taking them to a show, because everybody has this view of Phish that it's just some hippie band and they're not going to be into it and all that stuff.
Right.
And so if you take somebody to a show who actually does love music, they're just gone. They're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And I will
Absolutely.
listen to it. It might not be my top, but yes, they're right on. It's great. I'm all in. Um, for my wife, she doesn't like Phish at all. She likes String Cheese Incident. So
Interesting.
to fuck with her a little bit, one day I put on Weekapaw Groove and just blasted it in the house because it's like all this happy, good vibes. It's
Yeah.
light, it's melodic. And she's like, "Oh, this is cool. This is cheese, huh?" I was like, "Yeah, this is cheese."
Gotcha.
I just let her go, and she liked it for a little while, and I was like, "That was actually Phish. I got you. There's
Yeah,
one. I know
you
I
like it.
found one for everybody." Yeah, cracks
But
me up.
that is pretty interesting though, because usually, like, whenever people are like, "No, I'm not into Phish," what they're really saying is like, "I'm not into jam band music. Like, I don't like the noodling. I don't like where it go. Like, I want a song and I want it to end, and I want to know what's coming." So it's interesting that she's into cheese, but not Phish.
I think it's because of going to shows. So I took her to that first Phish show I went back to in 2015, and she came with me, and I yelled at her for sitting down. Probably wasn't a good thing. And Phish, they don't have an opener. They just come out and they play. They don't have to say anything to the crowd. It's just like, this is a rock and roll band that's just gonna blow your mind away.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to a cheese show, it's all like fairy dust, glitter, love. It's smaller. It's showing like red rocks, and she's interacts with the crowd the whole time. So she's way into that. She's like a reggae fan. So
It's more of
it,
like a
it
scene
yeah, yeah,
thing. I get
yeah,
it. I get it. And I'm not mad at that. I mean, everyone has their own flavor, if you will. And the cheese, and I've never been to a cheese show. Cheese is one of those bands where um, I know a handful of songs.
yeah,
I couldn't hear a jam and be like, oh, this is from whatever oh 03. Like
yeah.
I'm not like that, but I know cheese when I hear it. And I'm never like, oh, turn that off. I just kind of like roll with it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's not one of those bands that I really like dove into like I did with Phish. But I like cheese. I like cheese. And that's kind of like where yours started, right?
Yeah, just I mean,
Pre-Phish.
there's no Fish going on, so it was like
Yeah.
cheese was right. It was Panic or Cheese, and I don't like the way JB pretends to play guitar, so Cheese it was.
Oh, he's he's starting the war, right?
I will talk shit all day long.
Dude, and that's so funny. Like, it's almost like because it took me a while to understand this rivalry, if you will, between like Phish fans and widespread fans. My first interaction I was in college, and there was this guy, I won't say his name, but there was this guy, and he was like we weren't really part of like the same group, but
Mhm.
we knew. I found myself seeing him at
Yeah,
gatherings pretty often, and he was like a huge like widespread guy, and for whatever reason, like I was the big Phish guy, and he just like kind of started this like rivalry type thing with me, and it was just immediately like we didn't like each other, and I was like, what's your thing, man? Like, what is it? Literally just because I have on a
yeah.
Phish shirt and you have on a widespread shirt? I was like, what is happening right now? And I kind of like that was my first interaction with it. I was like, oh, I guess this is like a bigger like rivalry thing, because then I see people like widespread sucks and stuff like that. I'm like, what is
It's
this, a
so
football
funny.
team?
Yeah,
Is this
it's
bedlam?
really like sports. Yeah,
Yeah.
like who's your team? I don't know. I think back in the early 2000s, there was like Panic and Cheese, and people would just talk shit on the other one, and they're both great bands. Like I love both bands.
Right.
I just like
Talking
talking
shit.
shit. Like it's fun. It's like fun to egg people on. But I feel like there's like all these jam bands, and then there's like Fish is just on another level.
And I think I think everyone can agree with that. Maybe they don't, but I feel like that's pretty much the hierarchy. It's like
Yeah,
Phish. I mean, and you can say like the Dead, Phish. I mean, you can put them wherever you want, but everyone else, like, it's
just
a different tier.
below,
Yeah.
below. I'd
Keep
probably
yourself
take Goose over
check.
Panic too, just to throw that out there.
Dude, I will say, I've started the process, if you will, of getting into Goose. I'm taking it in small doses, and I don't know the name of the song. I don't know. Actually, I do know because it was at Red Rocks pretty recently. It was either earlier this year or last year. I came across it on YouTube, and like I said, don't know the song, but there was one of their songs going into a jam to where like the guitar riff. I was like, dude, this is fucking sick. And I'm sure I could go back and find it and see what the actual song is, but it felt to me, I was like, oh, this is their tweezer. If you fill in the blank,
Yeah,
it's like, this is one of their like go to, like, boom, we're dropping this. People are happy. Like, oh
yeah.
yeah, we got a tweezer, or whatever their song names are. Um, they might be. I'm curious. I'm coming along for the Goose ride. I'm
It's
curious to
fun.
see where they go.
Goose is great if you're like cleaning the house and just like got some background music on. It like maintains a good vibe. It doesn't
Yeah.
get too dark, doesn't get too out there. It's not evil Fish. Like
Right.
let's cook some dinner, throw in some Goose, have a glass of wine. It's
Yeah.
great.
And they
Yeah.
are, I will say this, that as far as jam bands go, They've got the best vocals. I mean, vocally, I mean,
They're pretty fun. Yeah.
who else can actually sing? You know?
There
And
is
that's
that.
coming from like, I mean,
Yeah.
the dudes can sing, so they've got that going for them. Okay, enough of Goose. What's what's a Fish song or jam that you're okay with never hearing again?
Alaska. I knew this
Yeah,
question was coming. I
yeah.
don't hate the song. It's not a bad song. It's just like a song.
It's
It's
just
just
a song.
come or go. It's not gonna do anything for me.
Yeah.
But like, when it comes to like being at a show, I feel like you listen to Fish differently when you're just listening to it at home or like on a tour, like listening to a tour or going through it or driving your car or like sitting down on the deck and just listening to Fish. You listen
Hmm.
to music differently.
Yeah.
At a show, there's no bad song, I feel like. Like I am setting my soul free. I'm in a sea of love. Let it come. I'm embracing every moment. Alaska, I will embrace. Like TTE, I will try to embrace. Like everything is just it's good. It's just you're there. Nothing else matters. Do what
Right.
you're gonna do. I'm just lucky to be here today.
Right.
But
Yeah.
at home, I'll pick it apart. Like nope, next one.
Boop. See ya. um, what's a song that you would like to see Fish cover?
Hmm. I don't know. Um, they haven't covered Collective Soul in a while.
That would be cool.
1995. I don't know. I feel like it'd be fun if they did like a country song, like some Waylon Jennings song, like Honky Tonk
Dude,
Hero or something, just
let's
completely like
go.
out of this world that nobody just saw coming.
Like
But
Willie. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm
another.
so down for that.
I think another cool one would be like if they did like a set, and this is only going to be from people that were in Oklahoma in the early 2000s going to college bars. But if you know who Hosty Duo is, I
Oh yeah.
feel like Hosty has some weird songs,
Yeah.
and Fish could just have so much fun with those songs with the way they're done. Like
Yes.
robots in the future, all music will be made by robots. Like that shit would be hilarious, and they would just have so much fun with it.
Dude, they would have a lot of fun with that. And it's so funny because Hosty, I've always said he's like the Les Claypool of Oklahoma. Like
Yeah,
he's like, and even like if you're listening to this and you're not familiar with Hosty, look him up and listen to just how his voice sounds and tell me it doesn't sound like Les Claypool or like
it's
Primus,
it's
country Primus.
country Primus. There's a kazoo. I mean, that's
Yeah.
fucking rage.
Dude, yeah.
I feel
That's
like that would
cool.
be a fun band for them to cover, just because their
Oh yeah.
music really is so far out there, and you can take it deep if they wanted to jam because it's pretty simple. Like it would be good stuff.
Dude, they would go into like cover a Hosty song and everyone would be like looking around except for like 10 to 12 people that are at the show and they'd just be like, oh my God. They'd be like, what is this?
Everybody else is like, "We're getting another Cast Pop Vax. This is crazy."
Yeah.
Like, no, you're
Did they
not.
write this?
Oklahoma Breakdown comes on. And you're just
Yeah.
getting, yeah,
Be like, what is this?
the
Dude, that's
funniest thing.
cool. I love that answer. Um, is there a song that or actually first, how many shows have you been to?
I'm only in like the 20s.
20s?
Yeah.
Okay. So out of those 20s, what is a song that you've been chasing, or are you chasing a song?
Um, Not anymore. So, I mean, like, there's always those ones you never hear that you're chasing, like Mockingbird and Forbins and all that shit. That would be
Sure.
awesome. So great to see. So much fun.
Right.
But I hadn't seen Fluffhead until Dick's this year. So the
Really?
Fluffhead at Dick's was great. And that was like the night four was fantastic because we got early entry that night. So
Oh,
we
you were
were
one. Okay, cool.
super close.
Yeah.
And just being right there with like the lights crashing down on my goddamn head and then the fluff head and it just like blows up. I'm just like, oh, it's happening. It's finally happening. This
Dude.
is the greatest.
Yeah.
But that was the one. That's just it's one of my all-time favorite songs. Just out of any music, it's always a banger. It's great. It makes you so happy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, getting that this year, I was like, it happened. This is good.
You got
Nothing
it.
else matters now.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Fluffhead's a good one. Dude, and speaking of that night 4, thank you. I'm gonna talk about this. I'm
Go
gonna
for
talk
it.
about. We all know the rules, if you will, about being at a Phish show and being close.
Hmm.
Like if you want to be close, you're going in when the doors open, you're standing in line, and you're going to be in the venue for a solid 3 hours before the show starts, just so you can have that spot.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand the rules. But night 4, me and my crew, we're up in the stands, and we go through the first set, and I look at my buddy Gunner, and I was like, dude, do you want to this is the last set of the last night. Like, do you want to just go on the floor and try to get close? I was like, I know some people down there. Let's go for it. He was like, I'm down. So we start making our way. I'm trying to call Leonard. I'm like, yo, where are you at? Where are you
Yeah.
at? I'm taking pictures of hey, we're right here. And we get down there, and dude, this is the closest because I'm always hanging out in the back. This spot that you guys had locked down was when the lights came down, I could have thrown my beer can and
Oh, yeah.
hit the light. It was insane. I was beside myself. And it's funny because on the way up there, I guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess everyone kind of that front row crew,
Hmm.
I guess everyone kind of knows everyone,
Yeah.
because on the way up, we got stopped a couple of times by a dude who's basically hey, I haven't seen you here tonight. What are you doing? And I was like, dude, we got friends up here. He was like, these people have been waiting here. And I was like, dude, I get it. I'm on the internet. I know, I'm not going to be standing in front of you. I promise. And we were just getting stopped. And it was oh my God. I was like, dude, they're taking this serious. And you guys had a perfect spot. There was plenty of room, and it blew me away, man. So thank you.
You're welcome.
It
I'm not gonna
was,
lie. I'm a tarp guy. I will go in there 3 hours early, bring my queen size bed sheet, and roll a tape and tape that shit down just so I have space for all my homies. That's what it is. And if you get an invite to come down, it's because there's space, and you're
yeah,
welcome to come down there.
dude.
Whoever says anything behind me can say whatever they want. But you got an invite to come down, come down. We have the
Boo.
space. It's manageable.
Yeah,
Like,
it was crazy, and it's so funny because that was my first experience being that close. And if you would have asked me before that experience, I would have been like, "What's the tarps?" I was like, "Get what's the deal with the tarps?" That would have been my take on it. But now, since I've experienced that or have the hookup with that, I'm like, oh, tarp, whatever.
it changed the game. Like I got in line every night for dicks. I got there at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and would
Wow.
stand in line behind 30 people, my fanny pack and my little sheet inside my fanny pack hanging there, and just drink beers in line. You get to know everybody that's there. And everybody, you get in through the gates and literally sprint down every day,
Everyone runs.
lays everything down. It was 20 yards back probably the first 3 nights, and had my space, would hold it down. You make friends with all the people around you, so everybody knows who they are there that night and who you're
Right.
sitting by. And they all kind of oh, okay, it's your friend, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. But I swear to God, if you get behind that little bubble, you're just like this all night, and this show is not the same. But
Dude,
up there, you got 3 feet of dancing space to yourself. The lights are fantastic. You can see everything that's happening on stage, and you just we talked about tunnel vision when it comes to listening to music earlier.
uh-huh.
I feel like when you're down there, this show experience is different. You don't see any of the mess. You're just in
It
the pocket.
is, dude.
It's in the zone. It's the best thing ever.
And you use the term bubble. That is a perfect way to describe it, because even when you're watching the show on a webcast or whatever, it'll show the crowd, and you're like, dude, that shit's not crowded at all. There, everybody has plenty of room. But literally, you get to, what would you say, 50-ish rows back,
Yeah.
and it's it's like it's like this
Yeah.
force field of like, I don't know. It's the weirdest thing it's only at Phish have I ever seen that. And it's
The only place I've
insane.
ever seen it, but it makes all the difference in the world for enjoying the show.
It really does, because I was surprised at like how much room there was. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, I'm in the bubble right now. It's like I'm in it. It's like when you get like accepted like by like the cool crew, you know, and you're like, I'm in the cool kid. I'm like, yeah, losers.
It works. I can dance and enjoy it. This is amazing.
But yeah, no, thank you for letting us come down. It was special. And they I don't know if you saw this. They released the Fuego, like the official on Phish's YouTube.
Yeah.
And that was during the set that we were down there. So I was like watching it and I was like telling my girlfriend, like, yo, we were like right here. And I'm like pausing it, like trying to see if I can see us and stuff. And I was like, that might be me right there.
It could be
Yeah,
it.
it could be. Yeah.
One.
Yeah. But I was wanting them to release more from that second set because I couldn't really like find a spot where I was like, boom,
Yeah.
there's me right there. Like the ego, right? It's like I'm watching a Phish to see myself. That's me.
I remember we did Cheese at Stubbs back in like 05 or 06.
Oh, that's
and I
cool.
was front row. And I remember like they had a photo of the show on their website where you could download the shows. And it was literally like me, like front and center with my long hair and like bandana on. Like, Austin, listen to this show. I'm on it. Like, I'm right there. I'm enjoying the show. You're listening to this. This guy's enjoying it.
I was there. So I like to close these out with just favorite memories from going to shows. It could be at a show, it could be on the way to the show, it could be in the lot before the show. What are some of those, you know, memories that stick out or fun stories where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened?
There's so many fun stories.
Of course.
Most recently, the funniest thing that I can remember happening was, and you just got to like think of the imagery of the situation. So it was night 2 at Dick's this year when the lightning storm hit.
Yeah.
And I timed everything perfectly that night to have my party favors kick in for this awesome lightning storm to be herded off the floor by security guards in a row.
I think a lot of people were in your same shoes.
It was ridiculous. And we are literally like front row right by the rope as they're herding us off. And me and my buddy Kyle are like, we're not leaving. We're not leaving. And so we're literally just walking side to side along the rope as it keeps going back. Next thing I know, we're like up at the top, like the show's closing everything down, It's starting to rain. And then all of a sudden we're outside of the show and it's like me and 3 or 4 other buddies. And I got this one friend who, for some reason, is like the most athletic friend I've had. And he's got dreadlocks now. He's one of those people that when you watch him run, he doesn't look like he's running, but he's faster than everybody else around him. And so we get out of the show and Tank Dude's right there. He's panicking. He's got a wad of balloons. He looks over at my buddy with the dreads, like, take these. He grabs them. And then we're getting pelted by like sideways rain, running across Dick's lot, following a dreaded gazelle with a wad of balloons in his hand out to this van. We get to the van. We're hanging out. We're waiting for the van driver to get there so we can just get in and get dry. He gets out there. He's all pissed. He's like, I'm going home. I'm going home. So we all climb in the van just to like not leave. Like, let's just wait. Let's just wait. He's like, no. So we go back. We're like driving out. And Leonard looks over at me and he's like, are we really leaving a Phish show right now, Oshel? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if we should do this. And then Casey, my buddy, chimes in the back and he's like, if they come back, we'll just come right back to the show. So we drive off. We're pulling into my buddy's house in Westminster. And typically this is like a 45-minute drive to get there in Denver traffic from Dick's to his house. But it's, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night or whatever. There's not much traffic on the way there. We're pulling in. I'm talking to my buddy who's still at the show. And he's like, they are uncovering the instruments right now. Things are changing. Stay in contact. It's like a military phone call. And everybody in the back is like, Are the band members out there? Johnny, are the band members out there? I do not see any band members at this moment. Stay updated. I will post you soon.
Yeah.
We run in, like change clothes really quick. Johnny calls, band members are coming back out right now. So we jump in the car, and I'm just like literally vibrating with love at this point and taking in all the light.
Right.
Ready Buddy hops in the driver's seat, and I swear to God, we're just hauling ass back to Dick's. We hit every green light. I'm just like this. Buddy calls, Carini's coming on. Carini's coming on. We wheel into the Dick's lot, past all the cones, right up to the VIP, wheel in, park sideways. We all sprint down into the show, run right past security. I think they were just kind of letting people back in.
Right.
And then we run down to the floor, and I split up with everybody. I'm like, I'm going back to my spot. It's where we were. It's like great spot. We got one buddy down there at least. And I see security's like looking at wristbands. I had given my wristband away at this point to somebody else.
Oh.
And I'm just like, fuck this. And I just sprint through the security. And the key to doing that is like you go straight for a little bit, then cut a direction, then cut back another direction. They gave two shits.
Yeah.
I run up. I get up towards the front. Carini's ending. Yem comes on. I just like start enjoying Yem. I'm like, I know I'm in the right area. Where are my friends? What is going on? And as I'm running up, like I cross paths with Casey, and he's like, "You see everybody?" I'm like, "No, do you?" It's like, "No, they're around here somewhere." All right. So we like just kept going. I mean, Yem comes on, I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm here.
I'm right here.
Where it's at."
Yeah.
I'm like enjoying Yem, and then I look back, and there was this dude there that night, shaved head, and he had little like sparkly beads taped onto his head, like every other inch. All his whole head is this like beaded, glow in the dark little weird thing. I'm like, we were right by that guy earlier. The jam starts to kick in, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna walk right over there a little bit. It's like 10 yards to my right. I get right past him, and I see my buddy who's standing there in his Mets jersey, who didn't leave the show and held down the spot the whole time. And then I see everybody else start to show up, and we just all go back to normal like nothing had happened. But it was the most weird sequence of events like of my life. Apparently Leonard like tried to come down. They stopped him because he didn't have a wristband, wouldn't let him in. And he's like walking around, and the guy like literally stops him, I guess. And it's like, go back up to the top. You're not watching the show from here. So he walks up the steps a little bit, comes back down. He's like, fuck this. Walks past them, just hops the fence, runs up there himself. The best thing about this whole thing is the guy who held down the spot wearing his Mets jersey, that was his first Phish show. And I had talked him into going. And he like showed up, came, like didn't know anybody but me, and just became best friends with all my friends during like hanging out before the show and all that stuff. But he's literally the only one that like manned up, held down the fort, and was still there. And everybody found the spot because he was standing there with the Mets jersey on. And we're like, this is great.
MVP.
You just, yeah, you just completely like maintained it, held down, like was a soldier. We were all bitches doing gas in the lot like idiots. Like the best part is like you're mid-30s doing the wookiest shit ever.
Right.
And then come back and you're like, my young stuff is still part of me. Like this is good. It makes me, I'm okay with it. It's so much fun.
Yeah. You can't take the what's the saying? You can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane. I would like just hearing you tell that story, because Leonard was giving me like the cliff notes of that, like how you guys were like leaving. And I was like, dude, my stomach would have like just dropped. Like if you're like pulling out and then like you're, like you said, 45 minutes away and your homie's like, yo, Carini's starting. I would have just like, like, what do we do?
We were dying. It was so funny too. I think we made it back in like 18 minutes because there's no traffic at that time. And I just hauling ass. Buddy's driving and he throws on like biscuits, and it's this crazy biscuits jam. So like everything is just blasting in your face. And you're like, we're going back to Phish. Like just mission, like go. Like
dude.
No fucks given. This is happening. We're getting down. We got back, got to enjoy the whole show. It was fantastic. Missed the naked dude in the boots, unfortunately, but
it was weird, man. Like we like that same night, we were in the stands, but we weren't under like the pavilion part. So like we're exposed. And right before it started raining, like we kind of moved over and had a perfect spot to like weather the storm
Mhm.
and didn't get wet, didn't do anything. And we start seeing this guy, like there's multiple people like running down and like people are cheering and stuff. And then I wasn't really paying attention. And one of my buddies was like, yo, there's a naked dude down there. And I'm like, what? And sure enough, dude, I was like, oh, this poor bastard's about to go to jail, dude. There's a few times where he like touched himself too. Like
Oh,
not sexually. I think he was
yeah.
just like, we
Adjusting.
yeah, adjusting. I was like, man, this dude is about to get ruined for life. But he made the
He
I
was there the
reached
next
out,
night.
huh?
He was
Yeah.
there the next night.
Yeah, I guess he didn't go to jail. And he even made the Walfredo. I don't know if you follow them on Instagram. It's called Where's Walfredo. And it's this basically like Where's Waldo, but it's like a big thing of like all the Phish people and like the community, and it's just
Yeah.
like that. And he made it onto that, like the dude drew him in, and it's just this naked dude standing there with a little rain cloud over him. I was like, right on, man.
That's fantastic.
I didn't even know that they had changed the lyrics in
Yeah,
Karini until I saw it in the show notes, and I was like, oh, wicked.
that was
Like
sick. They're
he's
so
part of
on top of
history.
it all the time. They're so good at just the last minute adjustments and like taking in what's going on with the crowd.
Oh, I know.
It was
And that
the
Friday,
energy.
that set list was like boom, 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 boom. Like
Oh yeah,
Reba, fucking everything, dude.
yeah.
It's like this is
Julius
perfect.
was so much fun.
It's
Like,
fun.
and then I don't. The energy was just. I don't know. I think that lightning storm transformed the show for the next two nights. Because night three, the show was spectacular. It was like watching a no hitter. Like there
That's a
was
good
no
way to.
like deep jams. There was like great micro jams. Like the walls of the cave was fucking fire.
Was that the first time that they had jammed that?
I don't know if it was. I don't think it was the first time, but like the way they did it was
It
so good.
it felt different to me. I was like, this seems like a one of one.
Yeah,
Like I just remember thinking that when that happened.
that walls of the cave was sick. But like
It was,
every song that night, you're just like, oh my god, I'm in it. I'm in it. Like they just maintain this perfect energy level all the way across. And like I think a great example of that for me is like Santos is a fun song. Like it's a fun song. It's in my opinion like the bouncing around the room of
this era.
this. Yeah, and I feel like it's used a lot to be a Phish critic and talk shit about how I want Phish to play music.
That's what we're here for.
It's used to like bring energy up a lot. I feel like, and in that moment to open second set with it after that bug to close the first set, it was like we're just maintaining, like they're just keeping it going, and it was perfect location. Like everything that night was perfect location. So much fun to watch. But like it's if you go back over the tour, like the Free from Cuyahoga or that Leaves that was in I can't remember where that was at, but the Leaves over the summer was amazing. Like there was no like complex crazy jams, but that night too, if you were there, that energy was just unmatched.
And it's hard to describe. Like the
Yeah,
energy is huge. It was electric. That was a really fun run, man. I mean, I didn't know what to expect with it being the first year they've done 4 nights.
yeah,
I was like, oh, dude, like, because I started like getting super excited. I was like, oh, one night they're gonna do like a special set of something, and then I started like getting dark with it, and I was like, oh my god, like, what if the fourth one, like, they're like saying like, hey, we're done, like, and then my mind was going everywhere. Like, I was like, holy shit! And whenever they started talking, was his name Paul, their manager, that it
yeah,
was his last show, yeah.
yeah.
I was like, whenever Trey started like talking, I was like, holy shit, they're saying they're done. I was like, immediately, I was about to start crying.
Oh
And
my god.
that's where my head was at, because I'd already had that thought, going into the
Yeah,
weekend. And when Trey started talking, I was like, holy shit, dude, they're fucking done. They're done. They're done.
yeah.
And then as soon as he said Paul or whatever the dude's name, when I was like, woo, I was like, oh my God.
Relief just kicks in.
Yeah, I was like, the weight just. I was like, oh my god,
That's a heavy thing to carry with you, bro.
dude.
I'm glad my head wasn't there. That would have been awful.
I know, but I was so relieved. I was like, thank God, dude. But yeah, it was a really fun run, and that was the second time. Like, I'm not gonna take blame or responsibility for the weather, but that was the second show this year that
Oh yeah,
I was at the DTE or Pine Knob, and same thing happened. And then it started happening at Dick's, and I was like, holy shit. It's like, am I the person that's bringing this rain to all these shows? I was like, holy shit. But yeah, I got robbed twice this year. Got robbed from 2 full sets of Phish.
That's
Jesus.
crazy.
I know. Oh,
I
well.
feel like night 3 was gonna go into like the acronym Dicks, like everybody talks about. Like I think it was going there, and I think they probably didn't was because they played late on night 2
Yeah.
and took the fine.
Well, I don't know if you noticed this. I know Leonard did, and I'm sure he's talked about it. But Encore Night 4, they
Yeah,
came. Is
that's
that
what.
what you're talking
That's what
about?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And and I was like, that's a dick tease, is what that is. Like that's the joke.
you kind of get it if you go character 0, like CZ. You get
Y-
Diggs.
Yeah,
Can adjust it a little bit,
yeah, make it work,
but
dude. But yeah, it was a blast. Taylor, thank you for taking the time. I'm glad I
yeah,
finally got you on, man. Um, and I can't wait to kick it at Dick's next year.
definitely.
Next year it might be a five show.
We'll see what
We
happens. We'll see what
Just be a
happens.
week long, dude. But yeah, thank you. And once again, thank you for letting us into the bubble. I'm forever grateful for getting to experience Phish that
Anytime.
close. And we'll see. We're in the group text, so I'm
Yeah,
sure I'll be talking to you soon, man.
yeah. Thanks for your
And
podcast and doing what you do. I love just hearing the stories from different people and all
it's
the
fun,
watching.
right?
It's great. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you've been a supporter since day one, so thank you. And hang out. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll talk logistics.
Cool.